Welcome back to Dong City, everyone. March 29th, 2021, episode number 52, CC Sabathia edition. Everyone is laughing because I fucked up. We came in, I didn't go live. I did the whole intro and we realized I was not live in the group. So technically this is part two. So everyone is hearing this shit again. Henry Maldonado, Vince Mercandetti, Rob Martinez, and we have special guest Rene Schultz with the shitty hat coming here to remind us that Puerto Rico needs a baseball team. Welcome to Dong City.
No, it doesn't.
Vince, how we doing, baby? I throw it off to you.
You've upset me because the first time through you said CC Sabathia is the greatest player to ever wear number 52, and I was going to challenge you on that because I'm like, how many players have worn 52?
Doesn't matter. He's still the best player to ever wear 52, baby. Doesn't matter how many.
But that didn't make final cut here in the behind the scenes edition of Dong City. It only made the cutting room floor. So here we are, Dong City. This is the last of the divisional previews. We have the AL and NL East on tap. Hey, Henry, these are always the toughest ones on us, even though it's like self-explanatory as to what we're going to be talking about. But we got through the West, we got through the Central. And this is obviously our favorite one because we get to be just blatant homers and also self-loathing at the same time. And we get Rene here too as a Mets fan, which I don't think last year we had, because we had Leon, who was a Nationals fan and promptly picked the Angels to make the playoffs and the Yankees not to. So now we get some weird predictions on this show, man.
Leon has been usurped, which is the second time I'm using this word in like 20 minutes. Leon has been usurped by Matthew Nyland's pick. So, last year Leon with the shocking pick. This year's Matt with the Angels making the World Series pick. So
yeah, he came in like a wrecking ball. So
I'm digging these prediction shows. We get some wild shit happening, man.
I like it. I like that everyone gets as high as humanly possible before they come on the show, and then they start talking. It's great.
Well, I'll be the pragmatist amongst the guests.
So thank you for joining us, Rene. Your first visit on the show, always exciting when we have a first timer, and I think we've done that now on every preview show so far, so we're excited about that, getting the community involved.
Thank you guys for having me, Robert, Henry, Vince. Thank you guys for having me, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's great, man. Like Vince said, we have a community of close to 6,300 now. Just a couple episodes ago, we were 6,000. We're close to 6,300 as baseball season ramping up. And it's fun to see, the guys, you see their names, you see the comments behind the scenes. It's fun to have you guys on the show, put a face to the name and just let everyone know that, we here at Dong City, we represent our community of baseball life. And this is what it's about. It's about you guys. Talk about whatever years you want to talk about. And if you want to say the Angels make the World Series, we'll just have some fun at your expense.
No, I'll pass on that one.
And Rene got the bonus of seeing us fuck up already. So here we go. We're going to start this week with the NL East, probably obviously reasons as to why. And that means we're going to start with the 2019 World Series champion Washington Nationals. Did not go so worldly for them last year in the short season, 26-34. Again, I'm going to say this to preface when we do talk about the AL East. I'm not putting much stock into how 2020 went. It's a very small sample size. In some cases, it may mean more than others. For the Nationals, I don't think it meant much. 26-34, probably a little anecdotal, but it tends to be like an on again, off again thing with them. Sometimes they're good, other times they're awful. Last year, they were pretty bad. 26-34, they kind of mailed it in, even though they finished the year winning 7 of 10. Won their last 3, -8 run differentials, so probably a little unlucky being 8 games under 500. 14-17 against teams over 500. So, I mean, mixed bag for them. These were the offseason. This is an addition here I can add to is the basic offseason moves of the teams because I figured out how to use the internet at 33 years old. We have big signings here. Brad Hand, Kyle Schwarber, Josh Harrison was re-signed. They brought in John Lester, Alex Avila, Jeremy Jeffries. Those are probably the biggest signings. They only really lost Michael Taylor and Anibal Sanchez. Other than that, not too bad. Oh, and Adam Eaton. So pretty good offseason for the Nationals. I mean, they really didn't lose much. They gained some nice pieces there. Let's start.
Also, guys.
We're gonna break you in here, Rene. Let's start with the Nationals. I'm guessing arch rival at this point. What are your thoughts on them for 2021?
I think they're going to be good team. I think just generally speaking, the NL East is probably going to be probably the most competitive division in baseball. Nationals, Phillies, obviously the Mets. I think the Nationals have a couple of things that they need to just address. Bullpen is kind of okay. I think they made improvements, but Juan Soto, what can you say? What can't you say about him? He's always going to be dangerous, and he can carry a team offensively for a month to 6 weeks at a time, and they are a dark horse in that division, along with I guess a couple other teams. But yeah, I think the Nationals going to be are definitely going to be above 500, at or around.
Okay. Do you have them in? I'm guessing above 500. You don't have them in last place again. Do you? Where do you place them among your teams here?
I want to say ahead of the Marlins.
Okay.
Definitely ahead of the Marlins. Everybody's gonna probably be ahead of the Marlins. I don't think that they're gonna be better than the Phillies, to be honest with you.
Another subtle dig. Everyone's going to be ahead of the Marlins.
Yeah, no, you know, yeah, sure, but I think they're not gonna be. I think I have them behind the Phillies, to be honest with you. I don't see them being, maybe fourth in the division, Marlins, then them. But again, they have that championship pedigree that is worth something. Trey Turner, Scherzer. I'm drawing a blank right now, but he just pitched today too.
Corbin, Lester, Strasburg.
Strasburg just pitched against the Mets today. He pitched really good this afternoon. So I mean, they have lots of really good pieces. Trey Turner, and then that whole offseason additions. But I think that I just think that they're I think the word that Vince uses, their window's closed.
Nice. I like that. Henry, let's move it over to you. Nationals. What are your thoughts?
So I like 3/5 of their rotation. I don't know. We don't know what John Lester is anymore. I mean, I like Scherzer. I like Strasburg. I like Corbin. I love Corbin in the number 3 spot. I always did. I think he fits them perfectly. I don't like the back end of their rotation. Their bullpen, I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw last year. We're going to see a lot of, ins and outs, rotating, revolving door. Daniel Hudson's their closer. Will Harris is inconsistent. They did get Brand Hand. After that, it's just a steep drop. It's those 3 guys, and you can't spend the whole year just doing that with your bullpen. We saw what happened with any team who tries to do that. Last time the Nationals won, what they ended up doing, they were using starters as relievers because they had no arms. You can't do that. You can't keep doing that. I love the addition of Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber to go with Trey Young. Trey Turner, Trey Young. Sorry, I'm thinking Step Back Podcast, Friday nights, by the way. Trey Turner, not Trey Young. Although I'm sure Trey Young could probably play baseball. But you add into that lineup, you have Robles, Juan Soto's probably the best overall hitter in baseball. It's a nasty lineup. Carter Kieboom, what is he? Who is he? What is he really? Is he going to match that ceiling that we all think he has? I think he was sent to the minors. I have him here on my depth chart as playing third base, but I think he was sent to the minors. They're going to slug. I do not like their outfield defense. Victor Robles is going to be getting gifts all year from Schwarber and Juan Soto because he's going to be covering a ton of ground in that outfield. I have the Nats coming in at third place in the NL East.
Yeah, I'm kind of with both of you for different reasons. Rene, you brought up that you think this will be the most competitive division. I think competitive is the perfect word because I don't think it's got World Series competitors in it, but I don't think at the top it's the most dominant division. I do think 1 through 5 it probably is. There's no team here I would say is going to lose 95 games. There's probably no team here is going to lose 90 games, possibly, unless someone just mails it in, which is always possible. The Nationals, with that context, worry me for a few reasons. And it's weird. I go through these phases where, I reflect on these teams, we get up to the show, and then it's like, all right, I got to really just buckle down and make a decision. I had the Nationals anywhere from first to second to third to fourth. I think I'm going to settle with Henry at third. And the reason is this. You look at that 1 through 3, it's still on paper one of the best in baseball. You got Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin. And then you have Lester and Ross, who are, 4 and 5 or 4 and 5. I think they can slot in there. I don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's great. Bullpen as always seems to be a struggle. Will Harris is hurt. I forgot, by the way, Josh Bell, probably their biggest addition. He's at first. I love Josh Bell. That said, the lineup is good. I wouldn't say it's completely elite. I wouldn't say it's a weak point either. My biggest problem with the Nationals is just looking at them from 2019 to 2021 in the pitching department. I think it's going to be a big struggle, and this is why. 2019, like Henry said, they used all hands on deck. Same exact strategy Alex Cora used in 2018 with the Red Sox. In 2019, the Red Sox pitching fell apart. In 2020, the Nationals pitching fell apart with injuries. We know that's what you sign up for when you use that strategy to win a World Series. Neither of them are going to trade it in. They'll take their titles for sure. But now you're going from 2020 to 2021 in an unprecedented situation where you're going from throwing maybe 80 to 100 innings to now you've got to get back to your full status here. It's a big, big mess if you're a starting pitcher. And in the Nationals case, outside of Corbin, who's thrown a lot of innings, Strasburg and Scherzer are wrong side of 30. So that is a lot of red flags for me. You're going from beat up their arms in 2019 to not enough innings in 2020. Now you're looking to beef them up again in 2021. They're another year older. Corbin is the healthiest and the best of that bunch on paper in terms of staying healthy. But he also has thrown a lot of innings and he didn't have a great 2020. Small sample size, willing to forgive it. That's my biggest problem. There's a lot of red flags health-wise with the Nationals, and there's not enough upside there for me to put them into that upper echelon of the NL East. So third place, fourth place wouldn't shock me. Fifth place would be surprising. I think that's what they are. I don't think they're all the way back yet.
Which means that they'll probably compete better than we think, because that's what the Nats do. You see them on paper, they're not like otherworldly, and then they go out there and they prove everyone wrong.
That's what's deceiving, is when you think the Nats are good, they tend to be really bad. When you think they're going to be bad to mediocre, they win the World Series. So who knows what's going to happen?
I would feel more confident about them if they had more starting rotation depth. If they went out and acquired some guys that could eat innings, I would feel more confident. I don't like the rest of the rotation after 3. And like you said, 1 through 3 will be taxed.
Yeah. You got 1 through 3 health risks, and then not a lot of depth after 5. And as I've mentioned throughout all of the division preview shows, the teams that are best set up in 2021 are the ones who have 8, 9, 10 starters, not the ones who have a really nice looking 1 through 3 or 1 through 5.
But one thing I do like about them, and I mentioned to Leon in the section, you have Carter Keeble coming at third base, which, by the way, this kid better hit, because this is why they let Rendon go. He's the reason that Anthony Rendon go.
And because the Nationals are starting third baseman right now.
That's a big, big fail. You have him and you have Luis Garcia in the minors. I like the two of those guys. I think they'll be in the majors. Josh Harrison's playing second. I think he's just keeping it warm, like I told Leon. But I like Luis Garcia. I like Carter Keeble. Those guys could join that lineup. And, like almost any lineup in this division not named the Marlins, they can match, man. These guys are going to match.
There you go. Third place, fourth place. I think we're all in agreement. They're not going to finish first. They're not going to finish last.
Sorry, Leon.
Let's move it on here to maybe the most exciting team of the offseason. I've probably said that before in prior years, but the New York Mets. Here's the tale of the tape for the Mets. We'll start with their preview. First of all, they think they're going to win the World Series, so much so they wanted to practice it over and over again. We didn't forget Rene and other Mets 7 train guys. Here are your New York Mets winning the World Series in March, baby. And
for those of you who don't know, watching, apparently,
I don't know if the actual truth is better, by the way. Like, I almost rather would have gone through a rehearsal dinner of winning the World Series than celebrated not making an error.
Let me tell everyone what they're watching in case they don't know, because Joey's going to come in all pissed off and say, that's not what it was. What you're watching, allegedly, was the Mets practicing winning the World Series on the final out. And that's what they were doing at that moment. great for baseball life fodder, great for the show. They had that shit coming, so you guys enjoy it.
That lit baseball life on fire for like 36 hours.
Absolutely.
Just,
It was a tough 36 hours for us.
Yeah, it went into this whole philosophical discussion of like, how should you celebrate? Like, should you celebrate at all in
Look,
March? And
you had
all
Sean,
sorts of.
you had Sean and Joey on the same page, and whenever you do that, you know something's wrong.
Yeah, right. Sean was ready to throw the book at everyone. So let's get to the Mets now in seriousness. They 26 and 34, same record as the Nationals. They tied for last year. Again, 60 games, take it for what it's worth. Mets had a lot of problems like in the beginning of that season. They lost their last 3, 7 out of 10. They gave a 22 run differential, not great. 14, 18, all their other stats are mediocre. That's all you have to know. Here's what you also should know, though. This was their offseason. They lost Rick Porcello. Who cares? They lost James McCann, or I'm sorry, they gained James McCann. Nice signing. They lost they gained Kevin Pillar. Okay. Taijuan Walker, they gained. Help me out here. Who else are we?
Rene,
There's so many names on this list. It's hard to like.
Carrasco, Lindor.
Carrasco.
Yeah. Let's go with the rotation first. They gained Taijuan Walker. They gained Carlos Carrasco, who's hurt, but presumably.
Stroman, if you want to call him an addition.
Stroman's back, after opting out. We know how we feel on this show about Marcus Stroman.
Mm-hmm.
They lose Michael Wacha. I don't consider that a loss. They lost Rick Porcello. I don't consider that a loss. They gained Lucchesi from the Padres. I think that's a nice depth. That's one of those guys like that 6 through 8 that I consider a nice signing. And then you lost Jed Lowry and Yoenis Cespedes. So I know you guys are heartbroken about that. And then you get to their other signings. Like I said, James McCann they gained. And I mean that's obviously Francisco Lindor is the big.
Is that Yoshi losing his shit?
That's not me. No.
That's actually Lucian Wrigley on my end. Probably.
Yeah, he's got double barrel action over there. So anyway, big offseason. Case in point, you got Carrasco, you got Lindor, you have a new owner. Obviously, no matter what happened in spring training, there's a lot of excitement to go around just based on those things. Again, we'll go to you now. This is your baby, Rene. How much better are the Mets?
I think we're a 90-win team. I fully expect us to be in the running for the division for most of the season, and I really think we're going to be a wild card team. As hard as that is for me to say, I really want them to win the division. I'd rather them win the division, but I think there are other teams that are going to be better. I think we all know who we're talking about there. But I really think we are a lot better, top to bottom. I mean, to your point with that 7 through 8 or 6, 7, 8 pitcher, we got the kid Jordan. I don't want to butcher his name. With the Y.
Yamamoto.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
He's pitching really good. We got the Trevor May. Not the Trevor we wanted, but the Trevor we got. We got Cookie Carrasco, which I think his hamstring is going to hurt us, and I think that is probably going to be, those 2 or 3 games that he might have pitched probably is going to cost us the division at the end of the season. But he's going to be out for some time, I think. But we get Noah Syndergaard back sometime in May or June, so I'm really excited about that and what he's going to bring to the table. I don't care what anybody says. Jake is the best pitcher in baseball. Period. I'll go to the wall for that. And other than that, really, I think we're going to be a 90-win team. We're the excitement. I think it shouldn't be understated. With Cohen. Steve Cohen has been a breath of fresh air for Met fans and just for baseball in general. The way he interacts with us, the Met fans on Twitter. And I'm really excited for what can happen. We can be very good if Edwin Diaz gets his act together. Because if I see him in the street, we're going to have a disagreement. Uh, yeah, I mean, Pete Alonso, I think he's definitely had a killer spring. I expect guys like McNeil to do a lot better than they've done in the spring. I think JD Davis he's going to give and take, especially if they're going to have him at third for extended periods of time. He's just, I don't think he has a handle on the position yet, but if he hits as good as he did a couple years ago, I think it'll be water under the bridge. Especially if he gets his, full season of ABs. Dom Smith, I mean, listen, I think our outfield defense is not going to be the best. I think we're probably going to have. I think somebody actually posted that we had a really good outfield defense last year, or no, offense. But this year, our defense in the outfield is going to be a serious issue. But I hope that Dom Smith, Conforto, and Nemo getting on base will probably make up for some of that, or most of it. I hope.
Yeah, I think that's well said. This is a team that has taken a definitive next step from the purgatory that is 75 to 85 wins in my mind to a team that can win 90 games. If you can win 90 games, you're probably getting a wild card spot. And I think that's where the Mets are. My excitement for them tempered a little bit with the Carrasco injury, and it's not just because of the time he's going to miss. It's also just because the general nature of Carlos Carrasco. You never want to start the season with an injury because he's pretty naturally injury prone at this point in his career, and that's not all his fault, obviously, with his background,
with his health history.
Yeah, you get Stroman back now. He's a rotation piece for sure. Where he slots is up to many debates. Among many New York fans, but he fits somewhere. And Taijuan Walker, I actually love that signing. That's outside of the Carrasco Lindor trade. I thought that was maybe the best move the Mets have made this entire offseason.
Yes,
the guy who can start a playoff game for you, and that to me is a big differentiation between a fifth starter and a fourth. If you're a fourth starter who can start a playoff game, that's a legitimate fourth starter. I think that's exactly what he is.
And Taijuan Walker, and I'm just trying to cut everybody off. Taijuan Walker has the stuff, right? There's something to be said. His stuff plays, and I mean, if you see him in spring, his breaking stuff was electric. His fastball was up, sitting at 95, and get up to 96, 7. He's just really a surprising piece. I didn't know how good he was up until I watched him a couple times this spring, and was really excited at the potential of having a really high level starting pitching staff with him involved in it.
Yeah, and you go to Citi Field, that's going to insulate any sort of change of scenery a little bit if you're a pitcher. That's a nice place to land if you're a starting pitcher on a new team in year one. It's the complete opposite of how Yankee Stadium works when you're almost like, all right, just add half a run ERA if they're coming to the Yankees, because that's probably what's going to happen. I think the Mets, it's like the opposite. It's a pretty comfortable place to go if you're a starting pitcher free agent. Bullpen, I've always loved Seth Lugo, probably more than most people. Edwin Diaz obviously has to be Edwin Diaz. Trevor May's a nice signing. I'm not a Familia guy. Betances, I don't know what he has at this point. So the bullpen has some arms. I don't know how deep it is. I guess we'll find out. I love the offense. I love the offense, by the way, for fantasy, because if the fantasy show is going to talk about reality, we're going to talk about fantasy a little bit. There's a lot of options over there. You got Alonso, McNeil, you got Edwin Diaz, DeGrom, Carrasco, Walker in my mind, Smith, Conforto. All of these guys are fantasy guys. You want cheap steals late? Jonathan Villar, nice little bench signing. I like him too.
Almora too.
Yeah, it's a deep offense. I think it's a well-balanced offense, which really, this team reminds me so much, and I'm not saying it's going to have the same outcome. It reminds me so much of the 2015 Mets in that you have the potential for a very good playoff rotation. You have the potential for a 90-win team, which they won 90 and won the wild card in 2015. You have the potential for an offense that can translate into the postseason. I think that's the best case scenario, is if this team does win a wild card, does win 90 games, gets into the playoffs, that can be dangerous if they're healthy. And really, it's going to come down to Carrasco. It's going to come down to Stroman holding up over the course of the season. If you've got that 1 through 4 on paper in the playoffs with this lineup relatively healthy, I like their chances at least competing with the Dodgers or Padres, wherever is going to be that top seed. So that's where I'm at with the Mets. Definitely second place. I mean, I agree with you, Rene. I think they're a wild card team. Henry, what are your thoughts to finish up the Mets?
I absolutely love the Mets team before Carlos Carrasco got injured.
Yeah,
I,
it's a big blow to a team like that.
in all honesty,
I
I was going to pick the Mets to win the division. If you have Carlos Carrasco on this team, I think having Carrasco on his team, you're able to bump a guy like Taiwan Walker, because you guys are butchering his name. So it's Taiwan Walker.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, he needs to make up his mind as to what he wants
you're
to
able
be.
to
Okay.
bump guys like Taiwan Walker, David Peterson, and Joey Lucchesi back a spot. And the Mets have a ton of starting pitching depth, but I think adding Carrasco in front of those guys, you can push everyone back, and that's incredible depth to have. And I think in a season where my hot take was we're not going to see any 200 inning pitchers in baseball. I think we need as many arms as possible this year, specifically this year after the COVID season we had. I like their bullpen a lot. Dellin Betances is not the guy Dellin Betances thought they were getting. You know, a lot of people make fun of me. You guys know I love Dellin Betances. Brian Cashman didn't sign him for a reason. He went to the Mets. His velocity is horrible. His stuff looks horrible this spring. He looks like he's done. Who they did get last year at the trade deadline, Miguel Castro. No one talks about him. I like that kid a lot. I think Miguel Castro can fill the role that Dellin Betances was supposed to fill. This guy throws a changeup. He throws a sinker. His slider clips at a 48% whiff rate. The kid is nasty. And I think because of the other names in that bullpen, you know, you don't have to put him in a high leverage situation. You know, you look at the end of the season and Miguel Castro is going to have some of the best reliever numbers. He may not necessarily pitch in high leverage situations, but I think his numbers are going to be there at the end of the year. Now, Pete Alonso, who was Pete Alonso? Are we going to get the Pete Alonso that everyone fell in love with a couple of years ago, who won Rookie of the Year and hit 50-something home runs? Or are we going to get last year's Pete Alonso, who just absolutely disappeared? Dom Smith picked up all that slack, but Dom Smith can't play left field to save his ass. I kept saying if the DH was adopted in the NL, I think the Mets were the best team for it, because you can just put Pete at DH, Dom Smith, who's a better fielder, by the way, at first base, and then the Mets could have gone out and got a better outfield replacement. You know, maybe they went harder at George Springer, maybe they went harder at Jackie Bradley. I'm not a fan of the Almora signing. He's a fourth outfielder, nothing more. He's a defensive outfielder, is what he is. He's not going to start. He's not going to give you starting production. You know,
he's a healthy Juan Harris.
Yeah, that's not saying much. You know.
Yeah.
I do like James McCann on this team. I understand why they didn't get JT Realmuto. I still think JT Realmuto was a better fit, but I understand why they didn't. And it's kind of fun that they killed the JT market the minute they went with McCann. JT had to go back, put his tail between his legs, and take whatever the Phillies were willing to take him. So in the long run, this is a better deal. You know, getting McCann where you got him, the money and the years, I think it's fine. I don't think McCann is a full-time starter, though, so you're going to have to pair him with someone. New owner, that's the best addition of the year. You have a new owner. The best subtraction is getting rid of the Wilpons. You have a new GM, and then you have a new GM. You have two new GMs because of Dick Gate. Don't forget about that. Dick Pitt Gate. So I didn't forget about Jared Porter. I really do like the Mets. The Mets have a lot of fun teams. A lot of fun pieces on this team. I do think they finished second in the division, but I do think they make a lot of noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, look, for Mets fans, this is year one of what hopefully will be a very beautiful future for you. That's the perspective I would have going into this season. Mm-hmm. You can aim sky high. You can have all the expectations in the world. I know the Mets are a shiny new toy right now, right? Like, they don't do things they did in this winter if they still had the Wilpons. But if I'm keeping proper perspective, you're not on the tier of the Dodgers or Padres. There's just no getting around it. And you're probably not the Braves. But that doesn't really mean much. In the grand scheme of things, you have a new owner. You made great signings. I think they're going to get the Lindor deal done, which I know is not going to make Henry very happy, but I think they will, whether it's now or at the end of the season. And
I think
that's
Lindor gave them a opening day deadline.
He did, yeah. They went out, they had dinner. It's debatable as to whether Lindor enjoyed that dinner or not from last I heard. And
you go out to dinner with a billionaire, you're going to enjoy it.
yeah, that's where no one took their dick out. So that's like a win for the Mets. But
I will tell you, I absolutely love the Mets rotation. I think they have the best rotation.
Here's the thing I would say about the Mets, and I hate to hang you up. I will take my starting in the 7-game series. I have no issues going up against the Dodgers, the Padres.
That was going to be my point. I was going to say if there was a rotation in the NL that I would take to go up against the Dodgers and the Padres, it would be the Mets rotation.
If they're healthy, absolutely, yeah.
Health.
We'll say that about any team, so it's a cop-out answer. But with the Mets in particular, they may not be healthy.
I don't like anyone else's arms against those two teams other than the Mets. There's not a rotation I would take other than than the NL rotate for the NL than the Mets against the Dodgers or the Padres in a playoff series.
Yeah, let's get to a couple of things in the comment section. I thought some good points. One is to clarify on Walker. I'm not saying his stats are going to improve going to Citi Field. I'm saying since he's going to another pitcher's park, they're not going to fall into like some smoldering volcano of shit.
Not only that, the thing with Taijuan Walker is when he came into the league, his stuff was disgusting. Taijuan Walker was supposed to be an ace. So if you look at Taijuan Walker and you think ace, no. But if you sit there and you say, hey, this is my 3 or 4, I might be okay.
Or even in a playoff situation where it's a long game and he could be a long guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost ideal. You take him out of the rotation, ideally go to a 4-man rotation, be the long guy. And that sounds great also.
That's why I'm a fan of having depth this particular year for that very reason, because come the playoffs, you can do what Washington did a couple years ago and throw some of those guys in the bullpen. And if they're high velocity guys, that's even better.
The other thing I want to throw out there to finish up on the Mets, something Matt Bushnell pointed out in the comments, I completely agree with him. I think James McCann is an upgrade over Wilson Ramos year over year.
Oh, yes.
I agree with Matt, though. I don't think James McCann is going to be a full-time stud that I think he is. He is a career backup in my mind. I didn't think the contract was great, but he is an upgrade. So you look at it like that. But I completely agree with Matt. I am not that high on McCann as far as production goes, but he is better than what they had. So
this is why I kept saying, to me, George Springer and JT Realmuto fit them perfectly, because you can move Nimmo to left field. Springer's in center. That increases your defense. And then you have, the best catcher in baseball as your backstop.
Yeah, I think McCann's value is more defensive, and him being able to call a better game than Wilson Ramos ever could.
He's got to be able to play over 100 games, though.
Well, we had that issue with Wilson, and we were able to nurse him through. So,
and
I mean, Wilson had.
Remember how bad you guys wanted to get rid of him, though, at the end.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, but he wasn't as bad as I think people remember him to be, especially that first season when he was with us. He wasn't as bad. He was healthy and.
By the way, there is one thing that should give Mets fans hope. So when Steve Cohen bought the team, right away the Jared Porter shit came out. I thought the Mets handled that perfectly. Then a couple weeks later, the GameStop thing came out where Steve Cohen lost like a couple $1 billion. When the hedge fund he had was the one who took the beating, and came through that unscathed. So I really like the energy that the Mets front office is giving off right now. I think that should, calm Met fans' fears from what they had with the Wilpons.
It feels a lot more of a competent front office, at least this offseason.
Yeah, they hit the nail on the head. They showed competence. That is an upgrade. So there's the Mets. I have them officially. I think we're probably all in agreement here. I've got them second place wild card. Is that what everyone's got?
What I got you.
I think so, yes.
Let's move on to maybe the only other team people can possibly make an argument for a wild card. That is the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the more interesting / boring teams in baseball. 28-32 last year is the definition of mediocre. They finished one game out of a playoff spot for what it's worth. Lost 7 out of 10, very Phillies fashion end of the year. -5 differential, very 500 of them. They were 9-19 on the road. That's notable, and 13-20 against teams over 500. This was Joe Girardi's first season. Bullpen was a complete historically bad disaster, which is not very Joe Girardi like. And now you've got the Phillies. Interesting offseason for them. They add Archie Bradley in the bullpen. They add Tony Watson in the bullpen. I think I like both of those signings.
They got rid of Tony Watson.
What's that?
They got rid of Tony Watson.
Oh, they got no.
Yes. I believe they cut him.
Oh, you mean now? I thought, yeah. All right, yeah, a minor league deal, yeah. Well, that's a shame because I really like Tony Watson as a buy low. But they've got Archie Bradley, and not too many big signings. They lost Jay Bruce. He's now going to be starting first baseman for the Yankees, for what that's worth. Yeah, but they bring back Rio Muto and Didi Gregorius. I think those were probably the two biggest moves organizationally. And adding Bradley obviously addresses the bullpen to an extent. They also so Brandon Workman, they lose. I forgot they traded for him. They lost him to the Cubs. So and then they signed Hector Rondon. So the bullpen to me is still crap. Their rotation is Nola, who you hope is going to stay healthy and ace-like. I think he's got it in him. Wheeler's the 2 starter, Zach Eflin 3, Matt Moore and Chase Anderson. Then you've got a bullpen of a lot of spare parts and Archie Bradley and Brandon Kinsler. And then you've got an offense that's got Andrew McCutchen starting, Adam Hazley's in center, Brad Miller right now is in the mix somewhere, Segura's over. I mean, this is a very motley team. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm not big on the Phillies. I kind of laughed out loud, whatever that post was in Baseball Life. The Phillies, I think, beat the Yankees and like one hit them or something in spring training. That was like winning the World. Well, I don't know what it is about these NL East teams winning the World Series in March, but it seems to be a trend. That was their celebration. This is a lot of mixed parts for me, and not in a good like Giants dynasty way. This is a lot of mixed parts, and like it's got the potential to be pretty ugly in this division. And I've got them for 4th place, pretty solid. Henry, I know you're not big on the Phillies either, so we could start with you.
I know a lot of people, and if you do a little research, a lot of people are picking the Phillies to do something. I don't see it. You have one superstar, and then you have everyone else. You have Bryce Harper, who is the absolute stud of that team. Then your biggest superstar after that is Joe Girardi. I mean, that's it. When JT Romero was your second best offensive player, you have problems. And that's where they sit at right now. Their bullpen is trash. It's a bunch of shitty guys. And the only thing that'll save them is that there's one thing Girardi does really, really great, and it's manages a bullpen. They only have one lefty reliever. They sent down Jojo Romero, which I don't know why, but they sent him down. The only lefty reliever is Jose Alvarado. I don't like it. If you look at their rotation around the diamond, you see a lot of nice parts that would fit teams who are competing. So if you give me an Andrew McCutchen here, you give me a Didi Gregorius there, those guys are spare parts on other teams that are competing. Like you said, these guys are all on the same team. Gene Segura, come on, stop. I just don't see it. I think the Phillies finish in 4th. I don't see them making any noise. Bryce Harper, JT, and that's it. I mean, I love Didi Gregorius, but Didi is what Didi is. You know what you get from Didi. You're going to get pop in that ballpark for sure. You're going to get an okay average. He's going to strike out a ton. I'm just not a fan of what they did in terms of position players. Alec Bohm, third base. I don't like this team. Like you said, Andrew McCutchen's a starting left fielder. I don't like this team. There's nothing about this team that I like other than Bryce Harper.
I know.
Aaron Nola?
I know one thing you
Aaron
like.
Nola's an absolute stud, and I know a lot of people think he's not. That kid is an absolute stud. Zach Wheeler's not a number 2.
No.
I don't give a fuck what no one says. Zach Wheeler's not. You put Zach Wheeler number 3, number 4, different story on a different team. He's not a number 2.
I was going to say, I think Wheeler is a 4 on a World Series contender, 3 on a playoff team. He's not.
Zach Eflin, Mac Moore, stop. Like, come on. Those are spare parts. Those aren't main cogs, and I don't like what they're doing. I don't like what they're doing. I don't know where they're going. I just don't see what the Phillies are doing because their payroll's pretty up there too. So it's not going to be
Henry, There's one guy you do like on this team,
Who's that?
and he is the fourth string backup third base and shortstop, according to ESPN. Mr. Ronald Torreyes is listed on that
Big
roster.
toe, big toe.
Yep.
Look,
Yes, found the landing spot.
I'm shocked that the way they put guys together on this team that he's not starting on this team.
Yeah, it's
Ronald Torreyes over Gene Segura. Why not go for it? You know,
it is weird. Bohm is exciting. Like I think he'll be.
Bohm is very exciting,
but
but
he's
I
not
think
a bad start like right out of the gates.
look, the Mets, the Nats, and the Braves are just gonna feast on the Phillies. They're just gonna feast on them.
Yeah, it's a dog shit pitching staff. They didn't do really. It's just whatever. It's the Phillies. They may and they may win 78, 79 games. I'm not saying that this is a 90 loss team, but in the NL East, that is probably fourth place. So
that's exactly why I have them slated. I have them slated
for fourth. I disagree because I think you had the Nationals pegged for fourth. So do you have the Phillies for third?
Rene, that's for you.
Pardon me. So I've got them. I've got them a little bit ahead of Washington. I think part of it is my Washington hate. I think they're going to be
teams.
Yeah, no, I heard you guys completely. But I really think Aaron Nola, Wheeler isn't going to be as bad as we all think they are. I think there's something to be said about injuries in the whole thing, and I don't know, it's a cop out, but I feel like the Phillies
suck.
By the way, if you're in the comments, please make your case for the Phillies. I'm curious if
I think they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be okay. I think they're gonna be better than Washington. I think they're gonna surprise, but it's not. What are we're splitting hairs here? The 80 wins, 82 wins, 83 wins. I mean, after 162 games, I don't want to be the one that argues, one team is better than the other on account of one or two, 3 games in the standings. So if you're asking me who's going to finish ahead of them, who's going to finish ahead of, between the Phillies and Washington, I think it's going to be the Phillies, but I think the ballpark plays okay, just given kind of how they're hitting and how they're set up. But I don't see them being great or being in the wild card discussion anytime after the All-Star game.
Check this out. Phillies, and I think Andrew nailed it. The way they spend money sucks. Check this out. The Phillies are slated to spend $177 million this season. I'm going to give you the top 5 players. Ready? Bryce Harper's number 1. Everybody knows he's getting his $27 million, and he's still underpaid, if you ask me. Right? Number 2 is Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler's getting paid $22.5 million this season. After that, are you ready for this shit? Andrew McCutchen's making $20 million. Gene Segura's making $14.5 million, and Didi Gregorius is making $13 million. That's a shitty way to spend money. Andrew McCutchen's making $20 million in 2021.
They're making the 2016 playoffs. They've got that going for them.
This is ridiculous. And I'm going to ride Sandra all year about this team being so bad. It's going to be so fun. She's going to block me. She's going to delete my name.
Check out my comment. I don't know if the comment came up already, but yeah, we met for the first time, me and Sandra and Wendy and everybody. We met for the first time in AC. And she bragged so much about the Phillies beating the Yankees in spring training. I'm like, what?
It's a little thing sometimes.
With the Yankees in 4 games last year, while the Yankees went on to the playoffs and the Phillies once again missed it for like however many years in a row it's been. Yeah, I don't know what Phillies fans weird
expectations. I'm going to repeat this. Zach Wheeler is getting $22.5 million. Andrew McCutchen is making $20 million. Enough said.
It's bad short term and long term because their farm system's not even fantastic. If you're a team like this, you need that next push. They don't have it. Andrew O'Sullivan sums up nicely. Phillies are kind of like the Angels. They're the East Coast Angels, spend money in all the wrong places. They've never built up their farm team. They never got the core that they needed from their farm. It's not good. Let's move on.
I tell you, if they want to, restock their farm system, I'm sure the Yankees got a few guys they can throw their way for Aaron Nola.
Yeah, we'll see. Nola got the Severino contract the same offseason. It hasn't really worked out for either team. But
Actually, he got less. He got 4 year 45.
yeah. Let's move on to the Marlins. Maybe the surprise of baseball last year. Thank you, small sample size. 31-29. They made the playoffs. They won a round of the playoffs because they were blessed enough to play the Cubs, who did their annual not scoring in October dance. And they finished just 4 games behind the Braves, again, over 60 games. Here's what's funny. 2 games over 500, a negative 41 run differential, which would rank you 3rd worst in the NL. And then they made the playoffs last year. They are the definition of small sample size, 9-14 against teams over 500. And I mean, here are your Marlins, man. I talked about how some teams are more impacted by the short season than others. This Marlins team is a last place team dressed up as a second place playoff team based on the 60-game season. And for that reason alone, I know that there's major regression over 162 coming for them. But let's go through their offseason. Very Marlins-like. They added Adam Duvall and Anthony Bass, Ross Detweiler, and Gio Gonzalez. Those were the really big signings. They lost Jose Urena. And then they also lost Kinsler, Stanek, Nick Vincent, Matt Joyce. I don't know why Nick Vincent's there, but and Drew Steckenrider. So it's a last place team. I don't think we have to spend too much time on the Marlins. Look, they've got good pieces. I still like their farm system. You've got Blade and Jazz Chisholm's going to be starting. He was just named the starter. Help is on the way. This is another Obama team. But it's not there yet. And this team's not going to compete in a division like this. They are the best candidate to lose 90 games. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll say to lose 89. And that's where it's at for me. They are a last place team by default, and great for Don Mattingly and his team last year, just getting some exposure in some fortunate circumstances, but this team's not going to be competing this year. Anyone disagree with that?
I don't disagree at all. I will say one thing I do like about this Marlins teams is what they're doing with their rotation. I think they're bringing up all their young guys and they're letting them get their shit now. I will tell you, the Marlins will have the best rotation in 2 years.
The future is a whole different story.
Pablo Lopez, 25 years old. Sixto Sanchez, 22. Sandy Alcantara, 24. Elijah Hernandez, 25. That rotation in a couple of years is going to be the best rotation in baseball. Those guys are nasty, and they're coming. And I like that they're just bringing them up and letting them get their innings and letting them get their shit rocked out of them. They're going to finish last place for sure.
Yeah, this is an audition year.
But I do like what they're doing. They've acquired a ton of talent since Derek Jeter, the GOAT, took over the team. They've made some smart trades. They've loaded that farm system. They've got a shit ton of international spending money. They're doing it the right way.
And the Yankees will go 500 against them, guaranteed. Even if they're a last place team, even if the Yankees win 100 games, doesn't matter. They'll go 500 against them. It's a team. This is a team that's going to be scary, I think, in a few years. And they're one of those under the radar ones. We talk about the Padres a lot. We talk about the White Sox a lot and the futures that those teams have. We even hear a lot about the Orioles and what they're building. We don't hear that much about the Marlins. And I think it's a mistake because they're building around pitching, which in that ballpark they should. I know it's more of a hitter's park now, but I'd still build around pitching if I'm the Marlins. And that lineup is going to be a lot different in a couple of years. It's got a good mix right now of veteran leadership and young talent, and it's going to be more towards young talent with some good hitters coming up. I love the future of the Marlins. I don't love them this year at all.
Rene, so I do want to touch on something here. Ming-Na, first female GM, I believe. I remember when we signed Brody, I was one of the first or the only people who wanted Ming-Na to be our general manager when she was available. And I think that's something that won't bear fruit for a couple of years, but I think it will soon enough. To Henry's point, the future's the future. We don't know, but she's from everything I've read about her, she is one of the brightest baseball minds in the sport. And kudos to Derek Jeter for signing her and giving her the opportunity to be a general manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Marlins saying doing Marlins things meant something entirely different 5 years ago. They are headed in the right direction. Now they're doing stuff that I think is impressive. It was very controversial when they did things like traded Yelich and traded Stanton. And you can argue they didn't get the greatest returns they could for the talent that they had then. But the direction they're going in, the way they've handled this organization, the future outlook, the farm system evaluation, all of that, very bright future. So this isn't the year though. We do all have them in last, right? Because by my math. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Let's finish up the NL East here. That is the Atlanta Braves, defending division champs. They came within a game of the World Series. Any other city sports team, they would have finished that series. Dodgers don't win the World Series, but because it's Atlanta, they blow a 3-1 lead.
Yep.
And they lose 7. That's what the Braves do. They're never going to escape it in my book ever. But this year they're good again. Definitely have to be, I would think, the odds-on favorite to win the division again. Their offseason pretty good. They add Drew Smyly for what it's worth, probably to too much money given how the rest of the offseason played out. He was like the first player I remember being signed. They had Charlie Morton, who, I think he's still got something left in the tank. They had Jason Kipnis, nice veteran guy to have. They didn't really lose much. Like Darren O'Day might be their biggest offseason loss, and that's not a tremendous loss. This is a team, Henry, that you look at their depth chart and there aren't a whole lot of weaknesses when you go through the Braves here. The bullpen for a long time was an issue. I think last year they might have actually shored that up. And by shored that up, you can combine it with the fact that the rotations become so good that it makes up for a lot of what the bullpen does. But look at the rotation. Fried, Morton, Ian Anderson, all in it. Soroka, again, battling
comes back.
That's got to scare you a little bit. And then Drew Smyly, that fifth starter, I think he could be solid. Bullpen, you've got Minter and Martin and Tom and Will Smith. And then, of course, the lineup we know is deadly. They got Ozuna back. I thought that was huge for them. No DH kind of screwed them over, so he's going to have to try and play the field and not rupture something like Eloy Jimenez did his AL counterpart. So that's maybe a downside, but other than that, I mean, this team is built very, very well. I think it is definitively the third best team in the NL. I think it is definitively the best team in the NL East. I think it is definitively going to win the division, and I think it's going to definitively lose and choke in the playoffs like they always do. So that's where I'm at. Let's kick it over to you, Henry. What are your thoughts on the Braves?
I agree with almost everything you said. I love what they did with their rotation, but I don't think it's more than the Mets did. I do like what they did with their bullpen. They stocked their bullpen with a lot of guys. What I don't like is they never upgraded third base. They either couldn't or they're putting all their faith in Austin Riley. I don't know which one it is, but they did bring back Osuna, which was huge. You can't find a better middle lineup order than Osuna, Freeman, and Acuna. I'm sorry. Then there's no way Ozzie Albies is going to be as bad as he was. So I feel, and I said earlier, I think Ozzie Albies is going to be the comeback player of the year. That kid is nasty. That kid is raw. And you add him to that 3-4-5 of Osuna, Freeman, and Acuna, and that's a deadly team. I think they win the division. I don't think it's easy. I think the Mets pushed them all the way to the last week, honestly. I see it coming down to the last week of the season. I do give the edge to the Braves. I think they win the division by a few games, and they do what they do in the playoffs, which, they choke when everything's on the line. That's what they do.
Sure is. How about you, Rene? You have had an up-close look now for decades of the Braves choking. What are your thoughts on the Atlanta Braves?
If there's a team I hate more than it's just historically it's the Braves. Just I get flashbacks from like the 90s and Fred McGriff and all that. So I would definitely say that they are the favorite. I think just everybody knows they are probably the best team in the NL East. I will say this though, and to Henry and Vince's point, I think the Mets are going to push them so hard that's just going to knock the starch out of them in the playoffs. I mean, if it depends on, I think the Mets are better in a one-game playoff than the Braves would, and the Braves know that. and they have to push really hard to make sure the Mets don't catch him. And because of that, I think that they have to drive, Soroka a little harder than they would normally, especially coming out of off of his Tommy John. It's I don't think that they're going to be successful in the playoffs, but I mean they're the favorite in the regular season, and there's something to be said for that.
I have a prediction because I love giving predictions and hot takes. I think the Mets push the Braves so much that the Braves give up 3 of their 4 100 guys and go get Jose Ramirez.
I will shit my pants, and I said this last week, if the Braves do anything remotely thrilling to put themselves in as a World Series favorite, like trade for Jose Ramirez.
I think Jose Ramirez on that team is absolutely perfect.
He is. He absolutely is. That's why they're not going to do it, because it'll cost too much and it'll put them over the edge, and it's not going to happen for that reason. It would be a brilliant. I mean, he is such a perfect fit on that team.
I say the Mets push them enough where they make that move by the trade deadline.
Look, if the Mets win the wild card, the Braves don't win the World Series, Mets fans can take credit for the Braves being so hard that they give up half their farm system and still don't win the World Series. This is a great season if you're a Mets fan. That you can't ask for a better step forward year if you're the Mets, if you can do that to the Braves. I don't think that's all going to happen. I think it's more, I look at it like Max Fried and Ian Anderson threw until their arms came out of the sockets last year. I think we need to take that into account. Yes, it was a short season, but if they ever do anything like they did last October again, I would be delighted. That was some of the most fantastic pitching I've ever seen. They single-handedly carried that team through 2 rounds of the playoffs by just being utterly dominant and being left in there forever. That worries me. Even with a short 2020, these are young arms who pitch deep into the playoffs, so that time off from late October until a regular starting period is still not as long as normal guys get. They usually get an extra month to rest. They're young arms, and now you're asking them to pitch a full season. Of course they won't. I mean, they're going to have an innings limit, but those are the things I look at it from the Braves. That's where the weaknesses are, is what are you going to get from those guys if they hit their actual rookie wall in their second year because it's their first full season? Something to worry about, and they're not going to make that big move at the deadline. They're just not going to do it, whether it's a starter or whether it's Jose Ramirez.
I think they do it. I think it gives them the best infield in baseball. I think it gives them the best defensive infield in baseball. That's my thing. I'm saying Jose Ramirez to the Braves. There's my big trade at the deadline.
I like that. I'm catching up on the comments here. We got Pedro listening in. I'm happy to hear that. Hello to Ozzie Guillen Jr. I'm listening to the show right now, mainly to troll about the Yankees, it looks like, but I'll allow it.
Ozzie, man, he was supposed to, look, Ozzie, check your messages, man. We were supposed to do some stuff together. Well, I'll leave it there.
So, and he came in right on the NL East talk. We just finished the Marlins. I like that. I respect that.
I just saw a comment here from Andrew O'Sullivan. How about a Mets Padres wild card game? That would be wild.
I think that is as much of a lock for a wild card matchup as we're going to get. I don't think there's an AL one that's more obvious.
Yeah.
That's what it would be. You get what, DeGrom versus.
Look, and remember, I've been arguing for more than a 1-game wild card. Then I won 3 games in a wild card, and you get that matchup, and you want that in 3 games.
Yeah, let's rant about that real quick. 2 things about the playoffs. One is that if you're not going to expand it to a 14 or 16 like we saw last year with the 16, you should at least have a 3-game first round like they did last year. And 2 is please reseed or at least take seeding into account. It's the only sport that doesn't do it. So we're going to get stuck again with maybe the 2 best teams in baseball playing each other in the first round in the NLDS, first full round, in the Dodgers and Padres. It's criminal every single time. We saw it in 2018 with the Yankees Red Sox. We saw it when the NL Central had like 3 teams that won 96 or 98 plus games, whatever it was. They all had to beat the shit out of each other. I don't understand there's no advantage whatsoever to MLB at least You can say if you win the division, you get an automatic playoff spot, but why are they automatically the 3 seed if you're the worst division winner and you finish 10 games worse than the best wild card? It makes no sense.
You want to massage the matchup so you get the best possible matchups in the NLCS and the ALCS.
Yeah, I understand. Hey, you want to make them play a 1-game playoff because they didn't win the division? I get it. But once they win that 1-game playoff, they have no business playing the best team in the next round. It makes no sense. And again, we're going to have to suffer. Hopefully that's fixed in the next CBA and with an expanded playoff because I think both are coming. But anyway, that's my quick rant. That is it for the NL East. I think we all have the Braves to wrap it up winning the division. Is that correct?
That's it. I think same order, don't we? No, we don't have the same order of everything.
No.
Yeah, I think I'm the weirdo who put the Phillies ahead of the Washington.
I don't think that's crazy, but you know, Sandra knocks it down a spot for me. So
it's crazy.
There we are. So thank you, Rene, for joining us. Thank you for your insight on the NL East. And thank
you guys for having me. And I can't wait for your rant on the Yankees in a couple of minutes, Vince.
If you're just joining us, we're moving over to the AL East. So this show is going to be another 4 hours as we break it down. Let's go right into it. We can do this. I have faith that we can get to the Yankees by like 8:30. Let's start with, this was surprising to me. Last place team last year. I had completely forgotten the Red Sox were so bad last year, but they really were one of the worst teams in baseball.
Can we just get 5-4? I mean, it's going to be the same 5-4 this year.
It's our first disagreement. Red Sox 24-36, melded into a degree, negative 59 run differential. They deserved all of the scoring they got. 11-20 at home, very un-Red Sox like. 13-26 against teams over 500. And need I remind you, they were 1-9 against the Yankees, and the year before wasn't much prettier. So they have been completely and utterly dominated by the Yankees in particular, but also were really bad last year, probably for the high draft pick. That would give you the 3rd worst run differential in the AL. It gives you last place, worst run differential by far in the AL East. Their offseason, I would define as interesting, intriguing maybe. They lose Jackie Bradley Jr. That's not a big loss on this show. We've been saying he's overrated for years. He goes and signs with the Brewers. They gain Garrett Richards if he's healthy, which is a major if. I think there's some potential there. Martin Perez comes back. Matt Andriese joins him. Marwin Gonzalez joins him. Kike Hernandez joins him. Kevin McCarthy, I don't even know who that is, joins him on a minor league deal. Hunter Renfroe joins them. Jose Peraza leaves. This is a lot of shit changing hands. And I mean that literally. It is just a lot of just names moving places. Red Sox weren't very good last year. They do get Chris Sale back. I think that's probably the biggest storyline. They do get Eduardo Rodriguez back, although he's already banged up. Let's start there, Henry, because Eduardo Rodriguez and Chris Sale coming back healthy is a game changer for the Red Sox, if it happens.
Yeah, but Chris Sale doesn't come back till what? We're talking July, maybe?
Chris Sale got his Tommy John, I think, in like March. So we're probably looking at like late June. He's kind of a freak health-wise. So it wouldn't surprise me if he came back in like that 14-month bare minimum that you can be effective and come back and be in a major league game.
Their biggest acquisition in the offseason was Alex Cora.
Yeah, fair point. They get Alex Cora back.
They bring back the manager. They get Marwin Gonzalez. I don't like this team one bit. I mean, they can hit. The middle of the order is Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, and JD Martinez. That's pretty damn nasty. They have no bullpen. They have no rotation. That rotation is full of question marks. You don't know when Chris Sale's coming back and what you get when he comes back. Eduardo Rodriguez, who had COVID issues, which led to heart issues, I believe, and now he's hurt. Nathan Eovaldi, who's had a history of issues, who shouldn't even be in any rotation. He should be in the bullpen. There's nothing about this Red Sox team that I like one bit. Oh, I'm sorry. Bobby Dahlback is on the team, which the fans said will be the AL Rookie of the Year, which is also laughable. I like Bobby Dahlback. Kid hits a ton of home runs, strike out a ton. He's not going to be the AL Rookie of the Year.
Well, I'll say this about Bobby Dahlback. He's a smart guy. Smart hitter. He's like Aaron Judge in that regard. I'll always defend him a little bit because I think he has the power to adjust and lower that K rate. Now his K rate was over 30%. That's not
I
good.
think it was closer to. I think it was over 40%.
Yeah, I mean it was basically Aaron Judge in 2016 in that call up he had. That's a Can he pull a Judge? Yeah, sure, maybe. But to think he's the odds-on Rookie of the Year favorite, I wouldn't rank him in my top three. Plays good defense, probably starting at first. That kicks Chavez out of the starting lineup. Kike Hernandez. Listen, I mean, look, the Red Sox aren't there yet. I think we can leave it at that. Nate Eovaldi's pitching opening day, like you said, Henry, he should have been their closer last year. He should be their closer again this year for both his health and his effectiveness. They get Adam Ottavino. Good luck. I have no idea what Ottavino is at this juncture. I don't know what it is about Ottavino, but that slider just disappears eventually every year.
I think he's more valuable to them than he was to us.
Yeah, I think they'll get more out of him than we did. Eduardo Rodriguez, legitimate on a human level, not a arch rival level, worries me. I think that whatever's going on with him physically is not something I just poo-poo as a 2020 problem. There's some red flags there. I'm concerned about his health at a major league level. It's not like we haven't seen freak stuff like this happen. He is one of those. If he comes back healthy and effective, I'll believe it. It's not a guy, again, going to fantasy I would draft this year solely because it's not a given he's going to come back healthy or effective or both. Eovaldi, again, we talked about should be in and the rest of it is just total flyers. Garrett Richards, if he stays healthy, he's never healthy. Martin Perez is utter garbage.
Usually they stay healthy. Trash.
And Nick Pivetta, I love his arm, but the guy is a complete question mark. You have no idea what you're going to get from him.
Yeah, you do. You get a guy that should be in the bullpen is what you should get.
You get a guy who could strike out 13 one night, and then he could walk 13 the next night.
Take away one of his pitches and put him in the bullpen, he'd be a dominant reliever.
Pivetta and Eovaldi in the bullpen is not a bad idea. And speaking of the bullpen, you got Barnes, you got Ottavino, you've got the Japanese import Sawamura. Darwinson Hernandez, good arm. So far, I haven't seen anything but a blazing fastball. I don't know what his second pitch really is. Ryan Brazier has been good. I don't know how long that's going to last. And then after that, it's more guesses. So they have some arms forming. And if you get Sale and Eduardo back, like I said, it's a huge difference in the future. But that future is not this year. They'll be mailing it in, I think, by the time Sale's back to his dominant self, if it happens. You can start to think a little bit about 2022, especially because they're going to have money coming off the book, or they have money off the books. They can spend big the next 2 winters. I don't think this team's ready till 2023. That's my personal opinion. And that's if they rebuild correctly again.
I don't disagree, which is why I don't have a clue in my mind why Alex Cora would go back here. There's nothing there for him.
Yeah, well, hey, according to Red Sox fans, this guy was going to make any team a World Series contender every year, and then that was easily just.
Look, I've been telling you guys about Alex and Joey Cora as managers for a few years now. He's very good manager, very good baseball mind. He got caught up in the scandal. He had a chance to not come back to this organization. I don't see why anyone would come back to this organization at this point in time with the way that organization is set up. There's nothing there.
Yeah, we'll see. He's more likely to be a scapegoat, especially in Boston. They have a history of making their manager the scapegoat. He's more likely to be a scapegoat than a hero at this juncture. And
a Puerto Rican manager in Boston?
Yeah, and he is the manager of probably the greatest Red Sox team ever. So he could have walked into the sunset with that, but whatever. I don't have the Red Sox coming last. I think they're going to come in fourth this year. I think they
have them in fourth.
A little bit better, a little bit more health, a little bit more guys trying. JD Martinez gets his video replays back. I like that. What you have them in last or fourth?
Oh, I have them in fourth as well.
Okay. Let's move on to the next team. This is the Baltimore Orioles. So let's flip flop them because I've got them in last this year.
Yeah, this isn't 4 and 5 would be the same two teams.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just flip-flop. Orioles 25 and 35. Now, the Orioles had like a hot 2 weeks to start the season, and people were like, oh, my God. And then they became the Orioles. Lost 7 of 10, negative 20 run differential, so you can argue they're a little unlucky with 10 games under 500. But again, fluky season, small sample sizes that could have easily turned into negative 200 by the end of the year. 11 and 26 against teams over 500. That's probably all I need to know for my sample size. And maybe the least amount of transactions this side of the Pirates. It's not very much. They gained Maikel Franco. I don't know what he is at this point in his career. Hanser Alberto leaves. Freddie Galvis in. Renato Nunez out. Asher Wojciechowski.
I take that back. Nunez wasn't that bad for them.
Yeah, no, I liked him. Matt Harvey is their opening day starter, I think. Chris Britt was excited about that, our token Orioles fan, now that Noah Penrod's deactivated.
So,
and then you got...
Can we call him Robin now, or we still got to call him the Dark Knight?
Yeah, good point. I'm not sure. Cole Stewart leaves, and Felix Hernandez, what's left of him, is back. So again, not really much going on. My thing here is I think if you go over a full season, you're going to get full regression from the Orioles. The farm system's not ready yet. This is a bad team. This is a bad team, and it's very likely teams like the Yankees and Blue Jays are just going to beat the hell out of them all year long with this pitching staff. John Means, Matt Harvey, Bruce Zimmerman, Dean Kramer, who for some reason owns the Yankees, and Jorge Lopez. These guys have better names as stand-up comedians and starting pitchers.
Leon nailed it. That's his nickname, Harvey Dent.
That's a good one.
Nailed
That's
it.
a good absolutely agree with these early comments, by the way. Ryan Mountcastle's a stud. He's like the Gary Sanchez of the Orioles, in that he's that first piece that comes up and you're like, whoa, this farm system could be pretty good.
I don't think he misses. I think he's a can't miss guy.
Yeah, I agree. And I like him. He is a way more realistic rookie of the year candidate than Bobby Dahlbeck if you look at their hitting profiles.
We will give our opinions later on in the week.
Yes, and welcome back, Trey Mancini. Battled cancer last year. He's back. He is starting first base, as far as I know, for the Orioles.
Yankee killer Trey Mancini at that.
Absolutely murders the Yankees. Pedro Severino, I feel like, this is a team that does have a lot of Yankee killers. Unfortunately, all of their pitchers, except aforementioned Dean Kramer, seem to also be killed by the Yankees. So it doesn't work out well for them usually. Dylan Tate, speaking of the Yankees, in the bullpen over there. Tanner Scott is the closer, according to ESPN. I'll believe it when I see it. Paul Fry. They're not a good team. They're not good pitching. They can hit. I think they have a lot of young guys who can hit, are pesky. They play the game the right way, so to speak. And then, of course, Mountcastle, the beginning of what will be a line in the future. But that future is not right now. Orioles are bad, really bad pitching in a hitter's park, in a hitter's division, in a hitter's league. It's a bad combination.
I agree. You can't disagree. This team sucks.
Yeah.
What I do like about them is they have 5 top 100 prospects, if you include Ryan Mountcastle. Another thing I like is Chris Davis, $17 million this year, $17 million last year, and then we can close the books on the worst contract in baseball history.
That's nice. Yeah.
They're just gonna tank all season. They put bad players out, and they're gonna get bludgeoned in this division. Adley Rutschman, number two ranked overall prospect in the MLB Top 100. So you may see him soon. Severino keeping the seat warm until he's ready. But Grayson Rodriguez, DL Hall, they got some guys coming for sure. And like we spoke about the Marlins, the O's will make some noise in the years to come. But this ain't it.
I don't think they're a 100 loss team, but I do think they are a 98, 99. I think they're going to challenge it. I don't think they're going to get to it.
I want to say they're a 100 loss team, but every year they end up, getting the Yankees for a good number of games. They get the Rays for a good number of games. It's weird what happens within the division, but this is about as close to a 100 loss team as you're going to get in this division.
Yeah. Really in the AL, they're going to be a bottom 3 or 4 AL team for sure, somewhere in that ranking. So there's the Orioles. Now we move on to another media and fan darling.
We both have the same 5, same 4 then.
Yes, Orioles 5th, Red Sox 4th. Now we move on to the Blue Jays. Last year, 3rd place team. we might continue to see a trend as we go through the AL East here, but that's a little tease. Now let's get to the Blue Jays of this year. So the Orioles last year, the Blue Jays last year, 32-28. They finished above 500. They made the playoffs as the 8 seed. They lost in the first round to the Rays, although, couldn't expect more than that. They a negative 10 run differential. Keep that in mind a little bit. 12-15 against teams over 500. Now their offseason, I think, was very polarizing because they were in on a lot of players this offseason. They were like that team. Yeah.
Back to everybody, every big free agent. Blue Jays making an offer, Blue Jays making a push. You're right. There was a lot of that.
Yeah, there's always that one, maybe two teams in the offseason where they're like, they might sign everyone, and they sign like one guy. And the Blue Jays signed George Springer. That was their guy. They offseason moves. Let's see it. No, they did more than that. They signed Kirby Yates. He's probably out forever. So it didn't work. They signed Marcus Semien. Nice signing for them. They signed George Springer. They lose Walker, like we mentioned earlier. Tyler Chatwood they signed. Cubs fans somewhere are smiling. Springer, by the way, yes, oblique injury, so he's also hurt, so that doesn't help.
Dreaded oblique.
Yeah, that's a lingering injury. Just like we'll get to a Yankee who I'll talk about later with lingering injuries. They lose Villar. Robbie Ray, I believe, is also hurt, although he stays. Liriano has returned at 37 years old. For what was supposed to be a major offseason, right now it's Springer and Semien, which adds to an already good offense. And pitching was their biggest problem, and they didn't address it. They got David Phelps. That's the Achilles heel in my mind. This team, you got Ryu as the ace. I don't consider him an ace in the AL, but he's definitely a front end of the rotation guy, numbers wise. Robbie Ray is the 2 starter, and he's hurt. Tanner Roark has been getting bludgeoned this spring, is the 3 starter. Steven Matz, who would not crack the Mets rotation, is the 4 starter. And Nate Pearson, plenty of upside, struggled and got hurt last year. He's still hurt as far as I know. Number 5 guy. It's a bad rotation, not even just like there isn't a lot of upside in my mind unless Pearson becomes an ace and Ryu stays healthy and they get more help. Bullpen, you've got Romano closing, and then Chatwood, Phelps, Baruki, Trent Thornton, Rafael Dolis. I mean, it's a lot of upside arms, I think. I actually kind of like the bullpen. Mm-hmm. Pitching's bad. Rotation's bad, but they have an offense that can kill you. Danny Jensen with Alejandro Kirk, who's a pretty good backup, platoon guy, if you will. Rowdy Tellez is going to back up Vlad. That's a really good combo, too. Marcus Semien is Cavan Biggio, Bo Bichette, Lourdes Gurriel, who absolutely murders the Yankees, Teoscar Hernandez, who absolutely murders the Yankees, George Springer, who doesn't murder the Yankees, but everyone wants to think he murders the Yankees, and then Tellez is the DH. So what do you make of this, Henry? I've got my opinions on the Blue Jays as it pertains to the Yankees, and then I've got my opinions on the Blue Jays as a team. But what are your thoughts?
I think that this is one of the better offenses in all of baseball. I think this team will hit their way to a wild card spot. I think this team will just hit their way out of a lot of bad pitching. I'm not a fan of their rotation at all. I like their bullpen a lot more with the healthy Kirby Yates. I think that's a big loss for them. Not a fan of their rotation. I like Ryu. I'm higher on Ryu than you are. I like him there. I mean, he's been nothing but successful. He's been nothing but dominant since he's pitched in the majors. Nate Pearson, I love him. Injured already. He's going to be on an innings limit. Robbie Ray, I like. Guy's always injured. Steven Matz, I have no idea why they went out and got him. I don't get Steven Matz on this team in this division. I don't get it. I don't like it. Tanner Roark, again, another guy who never pitches enough innings. Arms always doing something funky. Ross Stripling. These names aren't appealing to me. They have Anthony Kay coming. What's he going to give you? I will say that the Blue Jays will absolutely hit their way to a ton of wins, and I think that offense will carry them enough to get them into the playoffs. But I do love the addition of Semien. I love it even more that he's playing second base and not shortstop. Cavan Biggio, Bo Bichette, I really dig that infield.
Yeah, it's a really, I mean, this is a good lineup. Rob has predicted that the Jays are going to have a winning record against the Yankees, which they hit the Yankees really well. And last year they played really well against the Yankees as well.
Pretty well.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. The two thoughts on the Blue Jays, the way they're constructed. One is I'm totally with you, Henry. A good offense makes you more likely to make the playoffs in my mind over a dominant rotation with a bad offense. That's what the Blue Jays have. I think that their offense is designed to give them a very high floor. You have a very high floor, you have a good chance of making the playoffs. We've seen that with the Yankees when they run into a ton of injuries, in that they can still hit their way into the playoff spot. So they've got that going for them. And that also happens to be the Yankees struggle with. They are really bad against elite offenses from just maybe it's anecdotal. That's what the White Sox kill them. The Jays kill them. The Astros kill them. Those are teams who always have good offenses. They can beat teams who have good pitching and mediocre offenses. So Jays head to head with the Yankees, I think could be a major pain in the ass. Wouldn't surprise me if they won 9, 10, 11 games this year against them. Jays as a team, I think, are pretty overrated by media and by fans and really by offseason. They really didn't do much this offseason except add 2 bats to an already good offense. But there's diminishing returns at a certain point. You can only have so good of an offense. And their offense improved, but I don't think it's reached. I don't even know if this offense is going to outperform, say, the Yankees offense. And I don't think the pitching is close. And now we're at the point where we have to start talking about division. Orioles and Red Sox aren't winning the division. Jays, some people are going to pick them. This is now what we have to start dissecting. Blue Jays have a bullpen that could be good. I think it was pretty good last year. That rotation is the worst by far, I think, of the 3 teams vying for the division, and it's not close. And for that reason, I think the Jays are going to stay right where they are in 3rd place. And then you're talking wild card, which we'll talk more about this on Wednesday, but in our minds, based on our previous picks, they're going to be competing with the White Sox. They're going to be competing with the Astros. They're going to be competing with the Indians. And they're going to be competing with whoever we pick for 2nd place here. So should be interesting. They're definitely a playoff contender. Whether they were a team that was above 500 by the end of the last year, I think they're kind of in the White Sox boat like that. I don't know that they were, although they did finish the season playing well. I think they're a 500 team that got better into the mid to high 80s is where I'd put them, and 3rd place, but only because the top 2 teams in the AL East are really, really good. That's kind of my analysis.
I also love what their infield is, man. You have 3 guys that can play shortstop, 3rd base, and 2nd base.
It's the best infield.
What I don't like is Biggio's not going to give you the offense you want from 3rd base.
Yeah.
Biggio was penciled in to play 2nd. Then they got Simeon. They were going after everyone for 3rd base. They were in on Arenado. They were in on every 3rd baseman that was on the market. There was even talks about Simeon playing 3rd base instead of 2nd. I like what they did. I actually have them finishing 2nd in this division, though, because that offense is just too deadly.
Okay. You have them 2nd and a wild card, right?
I have them 2nd. I'll save the wild card for Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah. And the only other thing I'll say, same disclaimer I gave out to the White Sox, same disclaimer I gave out to the 2018 Yankees. Young bats are not always linear in development. So if you're going to see, and now Vlad did not break out last year, he may break out this year, so it could balance out. But a guy like
I'm sorry to cut you off. You also don't have to worry about Vlad's defensive issues because they properly moved him to 1st base and DH.
Agree. That was a smart move. A guy like Bo Bichette, if he regresses a little bit this year and then recovers in 2022, just saying, not going to shock me. I wouldn't hang my hat on it, but it's something that wouldn't shock me. So yeah, now if you wanted to talk me into the Jays one way or another finishing in 2nd, I can believe it, but I'm going to firmly put them in 3rd. That's my decision. Now we move on to we're going to break protocol for a little bit here. I want to discuss the Rays before the Yankees for obvious reasons. Rays finished 40-20 last year. They went to the World Series. Absolute juggernaut, no matter how you slice it. Even in a 60-game season, winning 40 out of 60 games in any stretch is amazing. Finished winning 8 of 10. swept the Jays, beat the Yankees, hung on to beat the Astros. I think they gave the Dodgers a fight. I wouldn't say they were pushovers by any means. They lost in 6, and they really could have won 1 or 2 of those games that they didn't. Plus 60 run differential, 29 at home, 2011 on the road, 21-9 against teams over 500. They owned the Yankees, their main rival last year. They had a lot going for them last year. Now, the offseason we get to maybe a little bit of a different story. Obviously, they trade Blake Snell. That was a big story. They lose Charlie Morton. That was also a big story. Those are 2 of their 3 guys. Now, the way the Rays are built, for those of you who don't follow us closely, is run prevention and pitching. They lost 2 of their 3 best starters. I don't care what kind of farm system or pitching development you have. That is not good. That's not a positive. I don't think you can just make up those 2 guys in particular in 1 year overnight. That said, they do have the best farm system in baseball. Their AAA team are 5 guys who can be in the majors this year. There's no retreads down there. Those are guys with upside. Their offseason, besides Snell and Morton, they gain Rich Hill. It's the Rays. Who knows? Maybe they can get something out of him. They lose Aaron Loop. They gain Michael Wacha, who, again, maybe they can get something out of him. They lose Hunter Renfroe. They gain Colin McHugh. And they gain Chris Archer. So they added plenty of pitching. It's just none of those guys are the upside on paper to Blake Snell and Charlie Morton. First of all, Henry, what do we think about the pitching going into this year? And second of all, what do you think of the Rays overall?
I think the Rays, every year I'm on the bandwagon, and every year I've been right. I think this is the year I'm off the bandwagon. And I'm telling you guys that this team takes 2 steps back. They don't win the division. They fall in 3rd place in my eyes. You can't lose 2 of your 3 best pitchers and replace them with okay guys and expect to have the same, result. I just don't see it. You replace Blake Snell, who could be considered a top 5, top 10 pitcher in baseball, and you replace them with Chris Archer, Michael Wacha. Come on, that's not appealing to me one bit. They have guys coming, which is what they do. That system. They have Wander Franco coming in the system eventually. I mean, at some point he's got to play. Where is he going to play? I don't know, but they got to make way for him. The kid is coming. He's real. Randy Rosarena. There's no way that kid is what we saw in the playoffs. I'm not believing that. So yeah. Who's the real Randy Rosarena? Who's Austin Meadows? Austin Meadows went off in 19 and disappeared in 20. Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz just completely faltered last year. Like, he was good, he was bad, he disappeared at the end of the season, had a great early season. The Rays, they hit, they play defense, and they pitch. Right now, I'm not a fan of that pitching. I do like their bullpen, but they leaned on that bullpen heavily last year. You're going to see the ramifications of that this year. I don't think that bullpen's going to be that good. I don't think that team is going to be that good. I have the Rays penciled in for 3rd place. And I'm probably the only person that said that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, your son agrees with you. So there you go.
Good man.
You mentioned the bullpen being overworked. We saw Nick Anderson in the ALCS, of course, right after facing the Yankees. In the ALCS and World Series, he started to falter. Now he's hurt. He's out for a long time. So that's the first chip to fall. Look, I see it from 2 ways. I'd be a hypocrite if I wasn't concerned about the Rays usage, because every single year I harp on this. You work these guys. It's a risk. It's a risk for any World Series team, lose or win, the next season. Same goes for the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have so much depth that it almost doesn't matter. This is why I feel a little differently about the Rays too. Blake Snell is an excellent pitcher, but he's a guy who goes 5 innings.
But that's not a Blake Snell problem. That's a Tampa Bay Rays problem.
No, I think Blake Snell and the Padres should be excellent. It is not against Blake Snell. It's how do you replace him? And if you're replacing him on the Rays, you're talking about 4 or 5 innings. You're not talking about the 6 or 7 he can probably go. And that's easier to replace. And that's what the Rays do, is they don't value any of their starters at an elite level, because they've got this formula where they're going to use 9 relievers on any given time and eat those innings.
And I don't think that's going to last long. You play that game, like you said, you go through the rotation 2 times, and then here comes the bullpen. You can't do that too long.
I think in the bigger picture, the Rays are on the precipice of the future of this sport, for better or worse, because I don't really love it. I don't think it's entertaining. I think the days of 200 inning guys are going to die with this generation, and the Rays are the next version of Moneyball. If you can give 3 innings, if you can get through a lineup twice, you are an ace in the future. And if you can pitch every 3 or 4 days doing that, that's going to be the value of the future. And the Rays have some bastardized version of that right now. They're moving towards that direction. It's the way, small market teams are generally the innovative teams. You're seeing that with the Rays because they don't have a choice. This is what they do. It scares me as a Yankee fan because their system works and it's worked. Now, to your point though, Henry, this is not a juggernaut franchise. They are not a team that every single year comes out and wins the division. And I don't think they've won the division back-to-back years, if I'm not mistaken. No. So can I see the fall off? Yes. And if it's the Rays falling off, they might win 82 games. I think that it could be that much of a fall off. This was a team, again, to remind you, that was on pace to win over 100 games last year, if you extrapolated it. That's a pretty big place to fall, but the Rays can do it if it's a transition year. They're certainly not going to be major buyers at a deadline. So, but they're also probably not major sellers because they don't have much to sell. So in my mind, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think I just can't fathom if you can replace Blake Snell and Charlie Morton and still win the AL East. They've broken baseball. It's going to take years to overcome what they've built. I don't think they've reached that level.
I'm going to say it again. Michael Walker, Chris Archer. If this is 2013, I'm excited about Michael Walker and Chris Archer. In 2021, I'm not.
I get what you're saying. I think it's a sum of all parts for me. And they've got plenty of weapons in the minors that can come up to and just start throwing innings and throwing it past people. It's just what they do. And their defense on top of it is always elite.
What we saw, what they did last year, 2 times in a rotation, and then here comes the bullpen, here comes the long relief guy hit. That plays in a 60-game season. That's not playing in a 162-game season. It's not. So the Dodgers were built last year. The Dodgers were built to do what they did all season in a 60-game season. I don't think the Tampa Bay Rays could have kept up that pace all year.
I agree. I think that they played it perfectly in that regard. I do think though between AAA and the majors and the bullpen and the rotation, I think there's enough arms to get through a season. Remember, 2019 they won 96 games. This wasn't a team that just took advantage of the 2020 season and emerged out of nowhere. This was a really good team who was even better in a short season.
I do want to go to that comment you made about them giving the Dodgers a little bit of a fit. I think if Blake Snell stays in that game, everything in that thing changes, and I think the Tampa Bay Rays are the World Series champions. I think that pulling Blake Snell cost them a World Series. They had all the momentum in that game, all the momentum going into Game 7. I think everything would have aligned perfectly, and it did align perfectly. The one thing that got them that far ended up biting them in the ass was, the way they use analytics.
I agree with all that. The only thing I'll say is I think it would have definitely gotten them a Game 7. I still probably would have taken the Dodgers in a Game 7 only because Dodgers were tested really all postseason and they passed every test. So I would have given them the benefit of the doubt in that situation. The Rays were like the little engine that could. The Dodgers were like the juggernaut that defended.
It's funny, for that same reason, I think they would have lost because they were challenged and they should have lost so many ways before they got to the World Series. They should have been knocked out twice. Yeah. And, to their credit, they came back and did what they had to do. So I get it.
I also will say this about the Rays. They absolutely dominated their own division. It actually may play against them. They have to play the rest of baseball this year. I don't know. I don't have an explanation for why they were so good against the Yankees and everyone else in that division, but I think that that's also going to hurt them a little bit. That's why I don't have them winning the division. But I do have them finishing in second. I'm going to take, basically it comes down to this. I'm going to take and this is kind of hypocritical because I just said offense leads the way in the regular season. I'm going to take the Rays established run prevention system against the Jays offense. That's basically what it comes down to for me. Again, this is one of those situations, Nationals, Phillies in the NL East. You want to talk me into the Jays finishing over the Rays? I can buy it. I'm just not going to officially say it. I'm going to give the Rays benefit of the doubt. Pick them for a second.
Buy it.
Let's move on to the showcase here. I don't really need stat tracker. I don't really need rosters for this, but I'm going to pull it up anyway because I'm sure I'll blank on something. The New York Yankees, the final team to discuss in all of Major League Baseball this year. Last season, 33-27, probably would call that underachieving. I think it was maybe the best constructed team that they had of all of their teams since this window opened, and underachieved. And at times they looked completely lost. They finished cold, losing 6 out of 10, but then they beat the ever-loving shit out of the Indians, and it all seemed well before they got booned against the Rays. So they lose in the ALDS. Put it in perspective, they lose in 5 games in the 8th inning of Game 5 in a best of 5 against what would be a team that almost took the Dodgers out in the World Series. So that's the proper perspective for the Yankee season rather than, hey, they lost in the ALDS. Plus 45 run differential. Nothing about their record was certainly lucky. If anything, they were a little unlucky, but they're also a team that beats the hell out of bad teams and loses close games because of Aaron Boone. 22-9 at home last year, 11-18 on the road, which I consider the latter pretty fluky. 10-17 against teams over 500, but I should add they were, I believe, 2-8 against the Rays. So a lot of that was Rays on Yankees damage. And because they only played 60 games and because they played the Rays for 10 of those games, it looks a lot worse than it is. So here we go to discuss the Yankees. Last year's second place team. A year before that, they were a second place team. A year before that, they were they won the division in 2019. I'm sorry. 2018 wild card, 2017 wild card, 2020 wild card, 2021. What do you think, Henry? Let's start with you.
You want my breakdown, or you want just where they're going to finish?
Let's volley a little bit here. Okay. Let's start first. Where do you have I assume based on process of elimination, you have them winning the East.
I have them winning the East. So everything the Yankees did this offseason flew in the face of what they usually do. The Yankees usually go out and they get that one big guy, that move that you have to have, and that move wasn't there this year. What they did instead was they kind of did what the Rays do. We're going to have a shitload of depth, and we're going to pluck and play guys. So you look at the Yankees rotation, there's not a lot of sexy names there, but what you have is a ton of guys there that are going to eat innings. They're going to swap. I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees went to 6-man rotation at some point this season. You're going to have guys who aren't in a rotation who are pitching out of the bullpen. You have guys coming up from the minor leagues that no one really knows or talks about. You have the Luis Gills of the world. You have Davy Garcia coming up, which everyone knows about. Albert Abreu, which, I love, and I'm waiting for him to hit his ceiling. You have the Luis Medinas of the world, Clark Schmidt coming off the IL, Luis Severino at some point coming off the IL. So there's a lot of guys in this rotation, plus you have a ton of horses coming. Because of that mix, I love what the Yankees did with their rotation. Personally, and I've told you this privately, we've had this discussion, I think they should have Luis Severino finish this entire season out of the bullpen. Make that bullpen more formidable and have that power arm coming out of the pen, getting those big outs. Speaking of the bullpen, Darren O'Day, that move goes under the radar. That guy coming in here with funky angle after you see these power guys like Zach Britton, like Chapman, like Chad Green, and then here comes Darren O'Day coming off the side. It's going to throw your whole shit off. I love this team. That bullpen is full of guys that can eat innings like Luis Cessa, Nick Nelson, Jonathan Loaizaga. I really, really like what the Yankees did in constructing the bullpen and constructing the rotation. Absolutely love it. There were some moves they did not make that I wanted to strangle them on. I wanted them to trade Luke Voit. Oh, yeah. I love Luke Voit. I don't love Luke Voit in this lineup. We have a ton of Luke Voits on this team. I wanted them to trade Luke Voit for a young arm, possibly. I wanted them to re-sign DJ LeMahieu, have DJ LeMahieu play first base, and I wanted them to either trade for a shortstop or go get a guy like Alderton Simmons to plug him in at shortstop and leave Glaber at second. I think that would have made the defense better. they're all in on Glaber at shortstop this season. I'm not a fan of it. They're spinning it the way they always spin it. Our guys are this. This guy's working harder than ever. Gary Sanchez has been working harder than ever for like 6 seasons now. Best shape of their life. The buzzword, the buzz phrases. I'm not a fan of Glaber at shortstop. I'm kind of over Gary Sanchez already. I do love that what I'm hearing out of the Yankees with the pitchers. I'm hearing things I've never heard. Spin rates, revolutions. I'm things I've never heard from them. I love that we're hearing this now. They're finally on the board with pitching analytics and spin rates. And I really think that they're just gonna cakewalk their way in this division. It's not just like they're gonna cakewalk this division, in my opinion.
Bold. Let's play a little love hate here. I'm going to be completely bipolar for the next however many minutes because
normal Vince is bipolar. God damn it.
Yeah, everything I feel is extreme about this team, and everything I feel is one way or another. So here's the thing. Everything you said about your offseason plan you wanted, I completely agree with. I thought the move was moving Glaber to second, moving DJ as he ages into his 30s. He's 6'4", let's not forget. And he's going to be signed for pretty big money the next 6 years. Moving him to first made sense. He can handle the position if he gets more time there. I thought that plugging in a really solid defender like Simmons at shortstop made sense if you weren't going to make the big splash. And if you didn't make the big splash at shortstop, that's fine because next winter is an ungodly amount of talent at shortstop. And it coincides with the Yankees resetting the cap, moving into a new CBA, having plenty of money to spend. So all that makes sense for me. I didn't understand what they were doing with the rotation in the beginning, but now I get it. And I've said this in every single division preview we've done. The teams who are going to do the best this season are the teams who have a lot of starters. Doesn't have to be great, but they need to have guys who can eat professional major league innings and keep their team in the game. The Padres did it. The Dodgers have it by default. The Yankees are one of the teams that fits that bill. That's why they did it, and that's why it's different, Henry, like you said, from what they usually do because they're preparing for 2021 in particular. And what I like so much about what they did, they obviously have Garrett Cole. He might be one of a handful of guys who can throw 200 innings this year. That's already a major weapon that no one's really talking about because you just chalk Garrett Cole as an ace and leave it at that. You have Corey Kluber. He's not going to pitch an entire season. But he's got upside. Apparently his spin rate and everything like that is right where it should be. Talion, same thing. Jordan Montgomery, I think he can take a step forward if he stays healthy this year. He's fully removed from his injury. He looked great in October last year. Domingo Germán looks like he hasn't missed a beat. I think we forget
Pun
how
intended.
What's that?
Pun intended.
I think we forget how good he was before he went away for a while. And then, like you said, the minor leagues has Davy Garcia, who's a major league starter right now, but he's going to get more seasoning. You have Clark Schmidt, who got hurt already, but he could be a weapon at some point this season. That's 7 starters right there. I'm missing like 3 of them. So if you guys in the comment section, anything that the I haven't even gone to their free agent tracker. This will help. So they lose Jay Happ. I don't think that's any love lost there. They gain Justin Wilson. He'll start the season on the IL. A little concerned about him. They gained Darren O'Day. This is the other point I want to make about the Yankees. They are the opposite of the 90s. They are not the trendsetters organizationally anymore. They are the team, though, that can adjust, and we've seen that. We saw after 2018 they made some adjustments. 2019 they made some adjustments. This year they took that from the Rays. I'm convinced of that. Darren O'Day. They saw that the Rays, you saw those stupid thing graphics throughout the postseason, all the arm angles, Rays come at you. They were like, all right, we're going to go get Darren O'Day. The days of the right-handed specialist are back because analytics say so. And Darren O'Day fits that bill. Justin Wilson was going to be the left-handed counterpart. Now they got this Lukey guy dominating spring training.
Killing it. He's absolutely killing, dude.
Yeah, we'll see if he's real or a pumpkin or not. But if he can even give us a month or two until Wilson's ready, fine with me.
I kept saying there's no way he's real, but I mean, he's getting it done.
He looked great in this. His stuff doesn't impress me, but he makes batters look full.
The problem is I don't think he's on the 40.
They'll make the move. Someone's moving to the 60-day IL. Let's, by the way, review real quick the injuries because I don't know how much better they've been. Schmidt got hurt. Andrew Har's hurt. Voigt's on the IL. There's many more injuries I have to think about here. I had them all this morning.
Clark Schmidt.
Chirinos.
I said, yeah, Chirinos breaks his hand. Who else am I thinking of here?
On the 40, that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The main two guys, Judge and Stanton, are coming in healthy, which is a miracle.
That is my big takeaway, is that Stanton and Judge are healthy. We thought maybe Judge was hurt today. It turns out he has a cold.
Yeah, the cold.
So that's all good. Wojciechowski, for what it's worth, got hurt. I don't think anyone cares about him. Chacin likely to be Chacin and Wojciechowski were two of those guys. They're both not going to make the roster anyway. So that's moot. Adam Warren comes back. James Paxton leaves. He was a disaster. That might be it. Elimination by subtraction, or I'm sorry, addition by subtraction. Camley leaves. I don't like that loss. I thought they covered it pretty well, but then those guys got hurt too. Oh, Zach Britton.
Yeah,
that's a major injury. So injuries are a mixed bag. But again, this is a team that went for depth, and they got depth, and they've got plenty of options throughout the year. Also, plenty of guys who are not going to throw a full season. Talion and Kluber are two of them. Montgomery should be built up pretty well, and I think Herman should too.
So here's my thing with Monty. I think outside of Garrett Cole, Jordan Montgomery is going to be the most consistent starter on the Yankees rotation.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to leave that rotation. I think you're going to weave. They're going to go with the weaving process. Cole and Monty are going to stay there all year. Maybe Herman too. Or at least most of the season. Talion and Kluber will start the year, probably take a little siesta while some other guys come back. I'm with you though, Henry. I don't know if their plans are for Severino to be in the bullpen, but that's exactly where I'd put him. Multi-inning guy. He can give us a shutdown bullpen. He's done it before. We know he can do it. He's not going to be able to build up his innings anyway because he's not going to have enough time this year to do it. Put him in the bullpen, and then we'll cross the bridge in 2022 as to what he is.
Popping off at 97 to 99.
Yeah.
In 7. As a starter, just put him in the bullpen.
Yep. Your Jaden mentioned my guy, Tyro Estrada, another home run today. Estrada looks like he's almost back from the bullet wound, which is a good thing because he's better than Tyler Wade, and for some reason is still not going to make the team.
Everyone is better than Tyler Wade. But you did mention my son who's in the comments. Since he's in the comments, I will say he is a Heat fan. I just want to remind him that the Knicks are up at halftime, beating the Heat 43-36. That's all I'm going to say.
Just like old times. Aroldis Chapman, bullpen. He is suspended for 5 games. I don't really care about that personally. I think we're playing the Orioles to start the year or whatever. I'm sure we'll lose 2 out of 3 anyway, even if he was healthy or in the bullpen.
We're going to have 40-man roster issues. You know that, right?
What's that?
We're going to have 40-man roster issues, and we're going to lose some good guys.
Yes, we will lose some guys.
No, yeah, you forgot one injury too. Andujar.
I mentioned Andujar.
You did?
I would love if Luke Voigt just kept re-aggravating his injury and Andujar replaced Jay Bruce. That's my dream. It's not going to happen, but I would love that.
He gets traded, I think, in this season.
Luke Voigt had a tear in his meniscus. I am someone who had both knees done, one meniscus removed, one partially removed, and I need to go back and get it done. I'm not a pro athlete. I did have a baseball scholarship, but I'm not a pro athlete. I can tell you that he made the right move. That's an injury that you wake up one day and you feel like shit. You wake up another day and you feel great. I cannot imagine feeling like that as a pro ball player. You got to move side to side. He made whoever's decision it was to get the surgery now was the absolute right choice. I just wonder if they're going to fully remove the meniscus or if they're just going to remove a portion of it.
I mean, he's had these leg injuries for a couple of years now. This isn't something new. So if you're going to fix these problems, great. Luke Voigt, to me, despite his numbers, is not a big loss for the reason you mentioned earlier. I still don't like the way this lineup's balanced. I don't like having Sanchez, Voigt, Stanton, and Judge in the same lineup. And I like each of them individually by ceiling. I don't like Gary Sanchez at all now. But if you want to go by ceiling, I like each of them individually. Gary Sanchez will not be the starting catcher by October. There's another hot take. I don't think he is going to cut it anymore. I really don't. And I think the Yankees know that. That's why they brought Chirinos back, because I think that they are starting to stack the deck. They did the same speech with Sanchez that they did with Torres at shortstop. We believe in him. He's our guy, best shape of his life. He's doing this, he's doing that. We hired this guy, we hired that guy. He's going to be fine. We believe in his upside. I'm with you, Henry. I think at least Glaber's young enough where he could improve at shortstop with another year under his belt, but I'm not particularly bullish on that. And I don't like Gary Sanchez as a catcher because I know even if he hits, he's still going to slump for long periods of time because that's what he is. Even when he was hot, he was still a very streaky hitter, and he's still going to be inconsistent as a catcher. And I don't like either of those things as a catcher. I want a defensive guy behind the plate like Higgy, and I want a guy who's going to at least hit 230, 240. I'm not asking for much. I'm asking for a guy who's not going to hit 190 over the course of 162 games. That's what Gary Sanchez is. If he can get it to 210, I still don't like that. Even if he hits 30 home runs, it doesn't matter. This team doesn't need to hit home runs.
That's just it right there. Gary's value is in his power, and you're not getting that power from many catchers in this game. But at some point, the way this team is made up, you got to say, is it worth it? And I'm on board, and it's not worth it anymore.
It's not. It's done. It's done. And by the way, he's a free agent after next year.
They love that Austin Wells is progressing the way he is. I guarantee you, Cashman is just chomping at the bit because Austin Wells is progressing, and they're like, okay, maybe we don't have to move this kid off of Cashman. And he's making the strides both offensively and defensively. He can probably hit in the league right now if you put Austin Wells, in a major league lineup. But he still has some development. But you like to see that. I don't know what like I said, I'm with you. He doesn't get re-signed at all. There's no chance in hell he gets a long-term deal from the Yankees. It's just a matter of getting whatever. Go ahead.
If I'm right, if he's not the starter by the end of the year, he's not coming back next season either.
He may not be worth the $5-6 million it's going to take to bring him back. Actually, maybe more.
I think he's making $8 million this year.
Yeah, he's not.
So you're talking $10 million for a guy who's not a starter. It's a ridiculous waste of money. They could easily spend it on other things. And catcher's not that hard to replace. You just need a defensive guy. That's where you get the value out of catcher, especially with this lineup. Let's look at the rest of the lineup. You have Luke Voit, who hits a lot of home runs, gets on base. Those are two things he does really well. He plays shitty defense, and he is not a good guy against elite pitching. He is easily overmatched and a dumbass. That's Luke Voit in a nutshell. That's his skill set. DJ LeMahieu, as professional of a hitter as you get, we need more of him. We don't have more of him. Gio Urshela,
we do have a DJ LeMahieu on the team, but there's no space for him.
Right. Miguel Andujar will continue raking in AAA and not get a spot in Luke Voigt's spot, which is where he should go, which makes perfect sense. Because if you're going to play shitty defense at first, at least do it with a guy who balances the lineup better. That makes sense. Gio, he's fine at third. I don't have anything great things to say about him. I love his defense. I guess that's great. Bat-wise, he's fine in that lower third.
He does everything really well. He gets you.
He's rock solid.
Above average offense at that position. He plays top-notch defense, and he shores up that infield a lot. He covers a lot of ground.
Yes, he is a very good fit on the Yankees. I'm not sure he'd be a good fit anywhere else, and for that, you hold on to him as long as he's cheap. Clint Frazier, look, I'm on board seeing what Clint is. Great 2020. Improved his defense scary dramatically, like Kyle Schwarber dramatically, except he's more athletic than Kyle Schwarber. So I'm all Clint, especially because Brett Gardner's back on this team. I want Clint Frazier playing as many possible games as he humanly can in left field because it means less games Brett Gardner's going to play. So
before you continue, let me tell you why Brett Gardner was a valuable signing and was valuable to this team. In our chat, when we saw Cashman was going to give an update on Judge, you saw how everyone lost their shit and thought he was injured. That's why you have Brett Gardner, because eventually he will be injured. Eventually Stanton will be injured, and eventually someone will have to play an outfield position. And for what you want to say about Brett Gardner, he's healthy, he's a leader, he gets on base. He does his job, and he plays all three outfield positions. He has a spot on.
My immediate reaction to Judge was, Mike Talkman, our
Oh,
savior. He
God.
can come in and play instead for league minimum. Those things get my Dong City populated. I was excited for Mike Talkman. And yeah, it's gonna be Gardner instead.
Did
So
not ask Rene for his World Series pick.
Ricky, Wednesday you get the World Series picks.
Rob, get Renee's pick behind the scenes.
Yeah, I do want Ricky's though. So anyway, so this lineup, look, it revolves around Judge and Stanton. I'm so glad they're not batting back to back. That was a smart move. Number 3 guy should be DJ LeMahieu. We all know this to be true. Instead, he's going to be lead off. They're going to run around with
And I still don't get it. I know we spoke about
Hicks in the 3 spot.
Hicks has a lower average, a lower on base percentage, and lower slugging. It doesn't make it doesn't make sense that he's hitting third.
And he's a perfect leadoff hitter, and DJ LeMahieu's a perfect number 3 hitter between Judge and Stanton.
Imagine you're hitting between Judge and Stanton, and you already hit fastballs at an elite level. Now you're going to see even more. Forget about it. His on base percentage will be over 400.
The Yankees are a reactive franchise. They are no longer a proactive franchise. This is what you get from it will take them until 2022 in the final year for Judge, until he's extended, if he's extended. And maybe one of the final years DJ LeMahieu plays at this elite level until they figure this out. That's just what they are. We have to live with it. We have to live with Aaron Boone, who again is the manager and is in a walk year. And if Aaron Boone does not make it to the ALCS or World Series this year and he is not fired, I have no idea what this organization is doing. This should, if you don't make game 7 of the ALCS the same place Joe Girardi did by the time he got fired, and you bring him in for year number 4, it's a total waste of my time as a fan. This year's a waste of my time as a fan if they don't win the World Series in my book, but I'm willing to give him Joe Girardi's ending point. With a much less talented team than you saw in 2018, 2019, 2020, and you're seeing in 2021. This is it for Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman. I swear to God, you walk into a walk year next year. If you don't fire Aaron Boone and then you don't win in 2022 as well, you can also be on your way out, no matter how many good things you do. I'm there with this franchise.
If the Yankees win, that's the sad part. You got to deal with a Boone extension.
If the Yankees win the World Series, they get like a 2 or 3 year reprieve from me. So I can deal with that until Boone sucks again. And then you're right back. That's the end of his extension.
Fire Boone, hire Beltran, and call it a day already.
Yeah, just insanity. Aaron Boone's a whole other subject. But anyway, to wrap up my
episode, we can have that one episode, Dong City, on Aaron Boone.
Wrap up my thoughts. Yankees rotation is built for this season. I've said it. I think Tellien and Kluber and Herman all give you tremendous upside. Severino, when he comes back, could be a weapon in the bullpen. Clark Schmidt and Davy Garcia are great depth with some upside. This rotation may not be sexy. It may have a lot of question marks prototypically, but it has a lot of options. And in 2021, this is the year of options to me. The bullpen I don't like. I know a lot of people love it.
I do. I like the bullpen a lot, actually.
It's good if Loizaga takes the next step, if Chad Green is solid, if O'Day does what he has to do, if Wilson comes back healthy, if Britton comes back healthy, if Chapman's splitter is for real, if Luis Sessa cannot be god-awful. If those things happen, this team can be good. I like Nick Nelson. He made the team. I like him. I think he was a good starter in the minors. He seems to be having more confidence this spring. I think he can be a weapon. But the name of the game for the Yankees bullpen, these young guys need to take the next step. When the Yankees are clicking at their best, they have a homegrown bullpen that's cheap and they can spend money on other things like starters. That's what has to happen this year. You've got 2, 3, 4 guys from this system who have the arsenal to be back of the bullpen guys. They haven't taken that step yet. They need to take it this year, and this is a crucial year to do it with the way that the payroll is.
Here's my issue with the bullpen. I think a lot of people were looking at this bullpen, and you're going back to when we had Andrew Miller and Betances and Chapman. You're looking at 2 or 3 guys that can close, and you're like, this is what I want. what you have now is a lot of matchup guys, and that's not sexy. But I really think our bullpen is going to be very, very, very good. I love
You got
Jonathan
matchup guys
Loaizaga.
are there and Boone as the manager, as an FYI.
I get it. I love Jonathan Loaizaga in the bullpen. I think his stuff resonates so well. And like I said, you have guys that aren't in the rotate that are in the rotation now who may not be in the rotation at the end of the year who may join the bullpen. You put a guy like Domingo Germán, whose stuff is just filthy. When his breaking ball is on, it's on. You put him in the bullpen at the end of the year in a playoff series, that could be disgusting. So I think I actually have a lot more faith in the bullpen than you do.
I think I look at it like this, and this is if the Yankees can do this right. And by the way, Matt Blake in his second year. So I think there's something to be said for that. This was his first off season working personally with these guys in person. I think that that's actually underrated. Last year he didn't have a full season, he didn't have a full prep season, and he wasn't in person. Matt Blake's supposed to be the pitching guru, so we're going to see what he has, and he probably is going to have a lot more influence with Boone and his analytics staff to make these matchups. So that's my positive aspect. The other thing I look at, this Yankee team has 12 or 13 pitchers who are part of the solution to me. I think 12 or 13 guys on this staff between AAA and the majors have the stuff to be effective at this level for a playoff team. Not all of them are going to pan out. Not all of them are going to stay healthy. Some of them are already hurt, like Wilson and Britton. But that is more, those are far more options than the Blue Jays have. They're far more options than the Astros have. They're far more options than the White Sox have. They're far more options than the Twins have, and most of the AL. The only team I'd say has more is probably the Rays, and that's really just because of their system, both farm system and organizational system.
Yeah, but those guys have dead arms by the end of the season.
Yeah, so the Yankees have the options and they have depth, and that to me is the most important. I don't think they have the upside as other teams, maybe in the front of the rotation, but they do have Garrett Cole in a playoff series that could really make a series shorter if Garrett Cole's on his game, which he was last October, including Game 5. He just had to pitch on 3 days rest because Boone butchered the rest of that series. So here we are needing to make a prediction on the Yankees. The offense, I think, is very deep. It's relatively healthy right now, which is the most important thing. It's got some depth, like I said. The bullpen has options. I don't love its upside. The rotation has options. I do like its upside. I think by default, Henry, we have them winning the AL East. Rob, you wanted to say something here. Finish your thoughts on the Yankees.
Yeah, well, actually, I got a response from Rene and his prediction for the World Series. Okay. He picked the Blue Jays and the Mets to go to the World Series this year.
Okay, absolutely hate it, but thank you, Rene. So I mean, by default, Henry, we both have them winning the AL East. We'll get more on what is this team in the playoffs. It's got plenty going forward and plenty going against it. But Wednesday, we will have our playoff predictions. You now know basically all of our division winners. You know all of our second place teams. So we're going to be choosing the wild cards, which is by default going to give us our playoff matchups, which by default is going to give us our predictions. We also have the awards that we'll hand out as well on the eve of opening day this Wednesday, a little bit early, 6:30 p.m. show. Probably going to be a 1-hour show. And then we'll be back at a regular scheduled time the following. Well, I won't be back. Hold on. Let me think about this.
We'll figure it out.
I will be back the following Monday. It's the one after that I won't. So you got Dong City, 6:30 p.m. Eastern this Wednesday. Dong City, 7 p.m. next Monday. Join us then. It will not be a 2-hour show, I promise. Henry and I have Yankees winning the division. Those are AL East picks. This has been Dong City. Tune into the Audible tomorrow night, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Step Back Wednesday. And
Step Back Friday. Worksheet Thursday. Step Back Friday.
Step Back Friday. Total Bases, of course, on Sunday. This has been Dong City. Everyone have a good night.
Dong City, bitches.